Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist and today doing a Relinquished deck profile. So I'm really excited for you guys because Relinquished was actually my very first card, and definitely comment down below what your very first card was in Yu-Gi-Oh! This deck is super fun to be able to play because you can basically just gobble up your opponent's monsters to make your Relinquished absolutely massive to help you go in for game. So without further ado guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell in there so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome rewards, like getting your name description in a single video, getting assigned cards in the mail, and even getting to request a deck profile every single month to your patron, along with test hands. So without further ado, let's get straight on into this. So first off, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Relinquished, which is a crazy powerful boss monster that has some absolutely insane effects. Now basically what this card does is you can once per turn target one monster that your opponent controls and equip that target to this card, and this card's attack and defense become equal to that monster's attack and defense, which is a crazy powerful effect. Which it also has the ability, if this card would be destroyed by battle, destroy the equipped monster instead, which gives it a little bit of protection, and it has an absolutely crazy powerful effect that helps you close out games that, while equipped with that monster, any battle damage you take from battles involving this card is also inflicted to your opponent, which is a crazy powerful effect that can help you close out games. We then play 3 copies of millennium-eyes Illusionist. Millennium-eyes Illusionist helps you get other cards equipped to your Relinquish because it has the ability to quick effect, discard this card, and then target an effect monster that your opponent controls and equip that target to an Eyes Restrict fusion monster or Relinquish monster that you control as if it was equipped by that monster's effect. And if an Eyes Restrict fusion monster or Relinquished is special summoned, add this card from your graveyard to your hand. This is not optional, and you can only use each effect of this card once per turn. We then play a single copy of Golden Eyes Idol. Golden Eyes Idol is a really cool card because this card can count as Thousand Eyes Idol, which is really cool, but it has the effect that once per turn, quick effect, you can activate this effect to look at your opponent's hand, and also this card's name becomes Thousand Eyes Idol until the end phase. And if this card is banished or sent to the graveyard by a card effect, then you can target an effect monster that your opponent controls and equip that monster to an Eyes Restrict or Relinquish monster that you control, and that can't be normal summoned. And then while equipped by this effect, that monster gains attack to the attack of the equipped monster, which is pretty good to give you that extra boost on this card. We then play 3 copies of Tour Guide from the Underworld. Tour Guide is a really good 3 of normal summon in the deck that just gives you an additional monster on the field, and actually have a really awesome tech card in the deck to be able to use with this card. We then play a single copy of Sangin to summon off the copy of Tour Guide. Tour Guide summoning Sangin comes in very handy because if you link summon with these 2 cards and Sangin is sent from the field to the graveyard, you can add a monster with 1500 or less attack from your deck to your hand. But the only downside is that you can't activate cards or effects of cards with the same name for the rest of the turn, but it does set you up for plays later on. We then play a single copy of Phantom King Hydrite. This is the tech card that I was talking about. This card comes in very handy because you can normal summon out your Tour Guide and then special summon out this off the Tour Guide's effect to give you a tuner on your side of the field to help you go for Needle Fiber to climb into a copy of Access Code, which is super neat in this deck to be able to do because you can just get an Access Code essentially off of a normal summon, which is super cool. We then play, for some Kaijus in the deck, we're going to be playing 3 copies of the Multi-Dimensional Kaiju. The reason I play 3 copies of this one is because it's a dark monster and works really well with cards like Allure of Darkness. So this card is a definite 3 of in the deck. You can also tribute over really powerful monsters that your opponent has to be able to then gobble up this card that can be targeted by card effects to be able to get rid of monsters that can't be targeted by card effects like your copy of Relinquished. So this makes it really easy to get a monster on the opponent's side of the field that can be targeted and is absolutely massive for your Relinquished to gobble up. We then play a single copy of Gamma Seal. Gamma Seal is just a really good kaiju to play in the deck that only has 2200 attack points. Play a single copy of Gandarla to get over the Wind Barrier statue, so this card comes in very handy in the deck. And then a single copy of the Thunderstrike Kaiju because it's the biggest kaiju that we have, sitting at 3300 outside of the Star Destroying Kaiju, which is a machine monster. So I played this one just so I couldn't get hit with a Cyber Dragon, so it's why I play this card as a 1 of over the Star Destroying Kaiju. We then play 3 copies of Effect Veiler. Effect Veiler comes in very handy to negate monster effects that your opponent has on their field. But the reason I play this card as a 3-up in this build is it works with your copy of Selene to help you climb into your copy of Access Code, which is a really, really good play in this deck to be able to summon out your copy of Tour Guide. Tour Guide will summon Hydrite, Hydrite and Tour Guide make Needle Fiber, and then Needle Fiber will summon out the copy of Effect Veiler, letting you go for Selene, and then you can use the Selene with another monster to go into your copy of Access Code, which is really cool. And if you have 3 spell cards in the graveyard, you can actually use it with your copy of Selene to climb into an Access Code by bringing back the copy of Effect Veiler, because it is a spellcaster, which is super cool. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells. So for the spells, we're going to be playing a single copy of Instant Fusion. Instant Fusion is a really good card because it can bring out your copy of Millennium-eyes Restrict or even Thousand-eyes Restrict to your side of the field instantly, which is really, really cool. We then play 2 copies of Black Illusion Ritual. I just play 2 copies of this card in the deck because I have so many ways of searching it that I just feel like 2 is totally fine to be able to ritual summon out your copies of Relinquished. We then play 2 copies of Preparation of Rites. Preparation of Rites is a really good search card for the deck. Lets you add a level 7 or lower ritual monster from your deck to your hand. Then you can add a ritual spell card from your graveyard to your hand, which is a really good effect. We then play 3 copies of Pre-Preparation of Rites. Pre-Preparation of Rites actually searches Relinquished and the copies of Black Illusion Ritual, which is why I'm just playing 2 copies of Black Illusion Ritual, which is really, really good in this deck. This card is a +1, so it's a definite 3 in this deck. So it lets you add a ritual spell from your deck to your hand and add a ritual monster from your deck or graveyard to your hand whose name is listed on that ritual spell card, which is a really awesome effect. We then play 3 copies of Relinquished Fusion. Relinquished Fusion is a crazy powerful fusion spell that has the ability to fusion summon an Eyes Restrict fusion monster from your extra deck by banishing the materials from your hand, field, or graveyard. And then during your main phase, you can banish this card from your graveyard and then target an effect monster that your opponent controls and equip that target to an Eyes Restrict fusion monster or a Relinquished monster that you control as if it was equipped by that monster's effect, which is a really crazy powerful effect. We then play 3 copies of Super Polymerization. Super Polymerization is really powerful in the deck because your copy of Millennium-eyes Restrict only requires a Relinquished plus any effect monster. So if you have your copy of Relinquished on the field, you can use Super Poly to get rid of an opponent's monster to make this card with a copy of Relinquished, which is really, really cool. And we also have some really good Super Poly targets in the extra deck. We then play 3 copies of Interrupted Kaiju Slumber. This card is super good in the deck because it lets you completely destroy every single monster on the field and then give your opponent a Kaiju and you get a Kaiju, which is really, really awesome because then you can then ritual summon out your copy of Relinquish and gobble up the Kaiju that you gave to your opponent, essentially almost OTKing your opponent, which is really, really cool. We then play 3 copies of Allure of Darkness to round out the spells and the main deck, just to give us a little bit more draw power in the deck to dig deeper to go in for more plays. So this card is a definite 3 of in this build to help us get to more combo pieces. So that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Millennium-eyes Restrict. This card is a crazy powerful 3-of. It is just an absolutely insane boss monster that we're going to be summoning all the time. It takes a Relinquish plus any effect monster to make this card, so it's super generic in this deck, and has the ability that once per turn, when your opponent activates a monster effect, quick effect, you can target an effect monster that your opponent controls or in their graveyard, and equip that target to this card that you control, and this card's attack and defense become equal to the equipped monsters of the monsters that are equipped to this card, which is really, really good. And monsters with that equipped monster's name cannot attack, and also their effects on the field and their activated effects are negated, which is really, really crazy because this card can actually negate hand traps, which is really, really cool. They can just gobble up a hand trap, and then since it was equipped to this card, it negates their effects, which is just absolutely insane. We then play a single copy of Thousand-eyes Restrict. This card is just a really good 1-of in the deck that I usually summon off the copy of Instant Fusion, but it's a definite 1-of in this build because it's super nostalgic and easy to make with your copy of Golden Eyes Idol plus a copy of Relinquished. We then play a single copy of Starving Venom Fusion Dragon. This card is just a really good super poly target if your opponent has 2 dark monsters on the field. and a single copy of Mud Dragon. Mud Dragon is a really good card in the deck because your copy of Mud Dragon is just super good in this deck to be able to use with your copy of Super Poly, to be able to use with two monsters with the same attribute but different types. We then play a single copy of Access Code. Access Code is really good in this deck to make because you can pop multiple cards on the field with this card, and it's super easy to make with your copy of Tour Guide. So this card is a definite one of in this build. We then play a single copy of Selene. Selene is how you step into the copy of Access Code so easily in this deck because you make the copy of Needle Fiber, summon a copy of your Effect Veiler off the copy of Needle Fiber, link for this card, and then if there's 3 spell cards on the field or in either player's graveyard, you give this card counters, and then when you give this card counters, you can move 3 counters off it, special summon back a spellcaster to your side of the field, and then link this card with the spellcaster to make your copy of Access Code at 5,300, which is really good. We then play a single copy of Unicorn to spin stuff, Phoenix to pop spells and traps, 1 copy of the Dark Charmer Gloomy. This card is a really good one of in the deck because if your opponent's playing Dark, you can actually bring back one of their monsters, which is really cool to help you go for your copy of Selene because this card is a spellcaster. So this card is really good in the deck. 1 copy of Needle Fiber, so we can go Needle Fiber, Selene, Access Code, which is really cool. 1 copy of IP Masquerena. IP is really good because it can help you go into your copy of Nightmare Unicorn during the opponent's turn. 1 copy of our Relinquished Anima because it's just really cool to be able to play the Relinquished Link monster in the deck, and it's super easy to make to be able to gobble up a monster that it points to, which is really nice. And then finally, a single copy of Link Rebo, which is just super easy to make in this deck, so you can go in for all sorts of different plays. So that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you did enjoy it. It's a super fun deck to be able to play with, and definitely comment down below what your very first Yu-Gi-Oh card was. Mine was Relinquished. I remember getting the structure deck one day, and it was just super cool to be able to open it and see all those Toon cards that were in it and all the Relinquished cards, and thinking this is going to be a really good time. And 20 years later, I'm still playing the game. So that's really amazing. So anyways, guys, this is DarkArmedDuelist. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell in there so you can become part of Notification Squad, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.